This is Fight Nights Extra on talkSPORT 2. I'm Adam Catterall. Spencer Oliver alongside me. We're in the middle of a fantastic fight week for Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk, but there's other bits of news that are obviously going around, of which we've got to touch upon on the show. And one of those is that Conor Benn's provisional suspension from the British Boxing Board of Control and UK Anti-Doping has been reinstated. For those that have not been keeping up to date with everything that's been going on with this scenario, we've got to cast our minds back to 2022 when we were informed in the build-up to Conor Benn versus Chris Eubank Jr., which was scheduled for the first weekend of October in that year. In the build-up to it, we were informed that Conor Benn had failed 2 performance-enhancing drug tests as per VADA for the drug clomiphene. Since then, this story has been up, down, everywhere around the world. We've already had a provisional suspension for Conor Benn, which was instated in March of 2023, and it lasted till July of 2023. That provisional suspension was then lifted. Conor Benn then, who was still not allowed to fight on British soil, proceeded with his career, fighting on 2 occasions on American soil. Now that ban has been reinstated. It's been a mess from start to finish, Spence. But hopefully now, we are going to get a fighter going through the proper procedure. And then once that procedure is concluded, we are going to get some type of resolution. Because I don't know about you, I'm sick to the back teeth of talking about it. It's been an embarrassment to the sport, a massive shadow over the sport. Everybody knows my thought process is on performance-enhancing drugs in boxing. I don't think the sport takes it as the severity of it as seriously as I do, and attitudes absolutely need to change.
Yeah, totally. Listen, I'm with you, Catman. You know that. You know how strongly I feel about performance-enhancing drugs within the sport, the dangers of the sport. And boxers putting their lives on the line that week in, week out, getting in there, and we do, sometimes have fatalities. We get injuries within the sport, so we know how dangerous it can be. We don't want performance-enhancing drugs in there. I think this case has been handled terribly. It's been an absolute disaster from the beginning right up until now. Hopefully now we will get closure on it. The right thing has been done. I think that UCAD and the British Boxing Board of Control have dug their heels in. They've won the appeal, and now we will see how it plays out. But you know how strongly I feel about it, and yeah, the right thing now has been done. Justice has been served.
Well, my take on it, and people come at me all the time saying, you're going OTT on the Conor Benn thing, you don't talk about this, or you don't talk about this scenario. Well, the majority of the other scenarios that do take place, fighters go through a procedure. They fail a test, they are then provisionally suspended, they then present their evidence to whoever has suspended them, and then there is a conclusion with a punishment or whatever comes that way. Yeah. That's the scenario. This has never happened in the Conor Benn scenario. My take on it, it's no longer about Conor Benn. This is about all those other fighters that don't have profile, that don't have deep pockets, that can hire big legal teams in order to navigate this very broken system. And the system is broken, but there's a lot of people out there that don't have the ability to be able to navigate that system, as Conor Benn and his team have absolutely attempted to do over the last 2 years. Let's just remind everybody of what's happened. 2 failed tests for clomiphene. Initially, no interaction with UK Anti-Doping or the British Boxing Board of Control. Let's go down the route of just talking to the WBC. Why? Because the WBC don't operate on strict liability. And the original evidence that they presented to the WBC about a flawed testing process was thrown out. And it was the WBC that then presented back to Conor Benn, the person that was supposed to be coming up with the reasons as to why clomiphene was in his system. It was the WBC that came up with large consumption of eggs, if we remember. Something which Conor Benn and his team have publicly denied. Well, that wasn't actually in our evidence. It was only up until March of 2023. So remember that this information came to us in October of 2022. March 2023 was the first time that UK Anti-Doping provisionally suspended him. It only lasted for 4 months. And the reason why it was lifted in July of 2023 was over a jurisdiction issue, because his legal team were arguing whether UK anti-doping were allowed to rule over a test that they didn't collect because it was voluntary anti-doping that collected the test.
A technicality over proving your innocence, and that's what they went down the route of trying to get out on a technicality as opposed to going, there's the evidence, we're innocent.
So now here we are in this situation with Conor, and the whole situation has led to a real mess for him and a bit of a sticky point, because what happens now? We have a provisional suspension from UK anti-doping. So if we're going to go through the proper procedure, Conor Benn will be afforded and his legal team to speak to UK anti-doping to provide evidence that they didn't have clomiphene in their system on purpose. Because we've already established in the last 2 years that the testing process was valid, right? That's already been established. So, so it was there. So there's 2 tests, clomiphene was there. Now, if you go to the UK anti-doping rules and regulations, their suspension for having a drug in your system is 4 years. If you get caught with a performance-enhancing drug in your system, it's 4 years. You then get the right to present to them and say, listen, I didn't do it on purpose. It's a tainted supplement. It's something I've eaten. It's this, it's that, it's that. We've heard many, many different excuses over the years. And then that ban will be reduced. Normally, 90% of the time, it gets reduced to 2 years. It gets halved. Okay? Now, the problem for Conor Benn is that over these 2 years, there's been a lot of talking. He said a lot of things. So he's already had the flaw in the testing process reason as to why he's failed this test. That's been thrown out. So that's not evidence anymore. He's also denied publicly that the large consumption of eggs was the reason as to why he failed his test. So now what is he going to present going forward? Because my argument is this. If you could have proved that you have accidentally ingested clomiphene, if you could have proved that, why have you not already done it?
Where was the scientific evidence proving his innocence? Now, we had that guy on talkSPORT, the guy the doctor who said, we have scientific evidence that proves Conor's innocence. Where is it? Where is it? It's another smokescreen, isn't it? That's what it is.
Well, like I say, I don't know the answer to your specific question, but my question is: we've had 2 years. If you can show that got there accidentally, you didn't do it on purpose, why has it not been presented already? Because this could have been done, dusted, and gone away. Now we're in a situation where, because when we're talking about suspensions now, suspensions only take into consider the time of the provisional suspension. So, again, the timeline of this won't go back to the time where we found out the information, i.e. October of 2022, because he wasn't provisionally suspended, because he didn't present anything to UK anti-doping. The first provisional suspension is March of 2023, and it only lasted for 4 months. He's fought in that period of time. He's fought twice in America. So does the provisional suspension now start now? So let's say it does. Let's say UK anti-doping say, right, okay, and we've come to the point where you've proven that it's there accidentally. We're now going to give you a 2-year suspension. That suspension starts now. Fair enough, it might be less 4 months because of the March to July that he served last year under a provisional suspension. But what a mess that is, because then the lad has just wasted, and his legal team, who've badly advised him, 2 years of his career. So in effect, he could end up having a 4-year ban. Crazy.
Starting from now.
Crazy. Absolutely crackers. The whole way that this has been dealt with has been absolutely mind-blowing. And I just hope that the right procedures now are adhered to set example to everybody in the sport that this is the way that we conduct ourselves and we take performance-enhancing drugs in the sport seriously.
Yeah, I agree, mate. I totally agree with everything you said, that this is something that we both feel so strongly about, and the right thing needs to be done for the sake of the sport. For the casual that doesn't really know, dips their toe in and out of boxing from time to time. This was highlighted. This went massive. This blew up everywhere. People were hearing about it and just going, what is going on within that sport? There is a broken system. There is something seriously wrong. Now we need to put that right.
And again, sorry to turn the topic of conversation even further sour. At the weekend, our sport experienced some devastating news where a young man making his professional debut, first time that he stepped in there as a pro, Sharif Lawal, sadly lost his life in combat. Just highlighting how brutal, how dangerous this game is without performance-enhancing drugs connected to it.
Catman, exactly that. Sharif Lawal, boxing the Harrow Leisure Centre with his whole career in front of him. Good fighter. You've seen him before in the gym. Good kid, good heart. Was just trying to follow a dream. And it highlighted just how dangerous this sport can be. Got knocked out in the 4th round, had a massive seizure, heart attack, put in the ambulance, taken to the hospital, and sadly passed away in that ambulance. Underlines everything that we're going on about, echoes everything that we're going on about. This sport is serious, man. It is dangerous. Let's do it on the sport that we love. Let's do it on a level playing field. People that were caught with performance-enhancing drugs in their system that can't prove that, strict liability, can't prove why it was there. Guess what? Forget the year ban, 2-year ban. Throw them out, because this sport is a dangerous sport. And that's where I'm at with it. I feel strongly about that.
I think there's a lot of fans that are going to be watching the show today or listening to the show via the podcast that are echoing those sentiments.